All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by the official beer of the program, Johnny Cuba. Pick up a six-pack of Johnny Cuba. Get ready for week 4 of the NFL, week 5 of the college football season with an ice cold, refreshing Johnny Cuba. Make sure you always drink responsibly. And don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Miami Hurricane, great. Orlando Franklin joining us here. Of course, you could see him, hear him, ACC Network. He and George Sedano calling the big ACC games. Orlando, thanks a lot for hanging out with us here. Are you enjoying the season so far? How you doing?
I'm enjoying this season. It's been great so far, man. Being able to travel each and every week and call some ACC games, but also be able to watch my Miami Hurricanes. It's a win-win situation.
So you know what? All right, so tell me about that, because now it's not going to be the case this weekend because the Canes play on Friday nights. They got Virginia Tech. But if you're calling a game and the Canes are playing at the same time, I mean, that happens all the time. What do you do? Like, are you getting updates? Do you ever get distracted? Like, how does that go for you?
Well, got the ESPN app, right? So could get updates on that as it goes. But commercials, right? That's when you look down at the phone. That's when you check the score. But I will tell you this. The Florida game that the Kings just did, I did a noon game, right? So they played it at night later on that afternoon, right? And
yeah, 3:30, right.
I was in Louisville. So guess what I'm doing? I'm spending the night in Louisville. I'm not going home.
Okay.
I'm not going to the airport to get on a plane. Heck no. I got to watch them Canes. Last weekend as well. Was in Chapel Hill. Did UNC JMU. JMU had a monster game, right? Basketball score, 70-50 in that one. JMU shocking the world. But what am I doing? I'm spending the night over there in Chapel Hill. I got to watch my Canes, right? So I don't like to watch football games on flights or airports or anything like that. I want to be able to watch it one time, get what I need to get from it, be able to see what everybody did, and be able to move on.
I got lucky. I got to watch the Canes game. I flew right out of Baton Rouge last weekend when I got done in the afternoon, and my flight was at 7 p.m., the same time that the Canes game was starting. So I actually was good with that. I like having the game to watch a whole ride on the plane. Makes the ride easier for me. Orlando, your expectations for the Hurricanes going into this season compared to what you've seen so far are what?
Yeah. Well, being a Miami Hurricane, I was actually recruited by Mario Cristobal, right? So I always trusted coach's word and got an opportunity to go down to UM. I'm actually in school right now, finishing some classes. So I was down there in, I think it was May, just on campus having a couple conversations. And, Coach Cristobal told me about the squad and about where he thought they were and just what Cam Ward brought to the table. And I trust him. I trust everything. So, my expectations going into this thing was at the very least, like the floor, Zaz, was the ACC championship, just making it for me. That was the floor when I look at my Miami Hurricanes this year. Now, the ceiling, it's obviously not only making it, winning the ACC championship, getting into the playoffs, having a deep push, maybe even winning the national championship. I feel that this team is that good. But with the game of football, you have to get lucky. Injuries are a part of it, and you hope that you're able to sustain when you do get an injury or two.
I mean, Orlando, I can tell you, former players have told me before this season started, really during the first year that Mario was here, former players have told me that Mario has told them that he took over a disaster, that it was an actual disaster. So I would say if that's true, for this team to be where they're at in his third year, that seems like he's doing a really nice job then.
Yeah. So I've always told people that you really got to judge a coach, whether it's the college level or the professional level. You got to judge them on year 3. You can't just look at year 1 and year 2. There's a lot that has to go in to changing a roster, but most importantly, changing a culture. So you really need to get 3 opportunities of bringing in recruiting classes or drafting guys in the NFL, right? 3 opportunities of different opportunities, year cycles of going into the portal, right? Being able to bring a guy in from day 1 and develop those guys, right? They come in, they're puppies, right? They're freshmen, and now you got to develop them, and their body's got to get right, and you're going to add some muscle mass, and you're turning young men into men. That's what you're doing at the college level. So you really need a couple years. But I'm right there with those former players that have told you that. Mario echoed that same sentiment to me. It was a disaster. And you could tell it was a disaster by some of the things that were going on, and guys being not engaged so much, and just different ramblings of the program. College football is great when the University of Miami is competitive. And now the University of Miami is competitive. I'm excited to see the next decade of college football, because I think by Miami becoming competitive, there's going to be another gear. It's going to kick up a notch, and we're going to see some things that we haven't seen in decades in college football.
Orlando, Cam Ward is the best quarterback the Hurricanes have had since who?
Ooh, the best quarterback the Miami Hurricanes have had since who? Man, I think when it's all said and done, and you look at the numbers that Cam is going to put up this year, I think he's going to be at the top of Mount Rushmore. I think he's going to be at the top of that, and everybody else is going to be looking up at him.
Like he's next to Toretta and Testaverde at the end of the year?
I think that if you just go off a 1 year sample size, as he surpasses Toretto, he surpasses Testaverde, he surpasses Ken Dorsey, he surpasses these guys. Just on a 1 year sample size, not looking at those guys' career, right?
Sure.
Those guys had unbelievable careers, but just a 1 year. I mean, this kid is unbelievable. What he's doing out there right now, you talk about swagger. Miami's getting ready. You think Mario Cristobal has had some great recruiting classes? Yeah, they have been great. But now imagine now when you see these kids celebrated the way that they're celebrated on Saturday night, and you already know the documentaries, and your mom and dad have been telling you about the old school Miami Hurricanes, and they were bad boys, and all these different things. And now it's like that swagger's coming back to that program. They're winning football games. They're on the biggest stage. Every kid is looking at that thing. Every kid's going to say, I want to go be a Miami Hurricane. That's what's getting ready to happen in this situation. So that's why I think like Miami's getting ready to be good for a long period of time. But Cam Ward, with the guys that he has and the way that those guys have played for each other, man, it's been unbelievable through the first couple of weeks of college football. I'm definitely excited to see this thing progress as the season goes along.
I look at the rest of the schedule, Orlando. Canes are going to be favored every game. At Louisville in a few weeks will probably be the toughest game, but they're going to be favored every game the rest of the way here. Is it crazy to say that the Canes should go to the ACC title game with 0 losses?
I think that's definitely a possibility. I think the 0 losses thing, that's on coaching. I really believe that. I believe they have talent. They definitely have. They have enough talent to win the ACC. They have enough talent to make it a deep playoff run. It's on coaches now, which this is why I've always said, being a college football coach and an NFL coach, I truly believe are the hardest jobs in professional sports or just sports at any level. It's because when you walk into a college locker room, 60% of those guys are alphas. You walk into an NFL locker room, 100% of those guys are alphas. So as a coaching staff, or was an alpha at some point of their career, right? Obviously, certain guys have to take back seats when you're in an NFL locker room. Peyton Manning walks through the door. You think my voice matters? No, right? Hey, I watched Peyton Manning walk into a room and Champ Bailey's voice did not matter. And that's a all-pro gold jacket guy, right? So why I say it's on the coach's ass is because these kids are going to start smelling themselves. They are going to get complacent. They're going to get that, hey, it's us against the world. And guess what? You know what? Our stuff doesn't smell. I can do whatever I want. I'm at the University of Miami. I play for the Canes. And that's going to happen because, again, when they come in, they're young men. You're trying to turn them into men. So that's expected. How does this coaching staff respond when they see it? Are they keyed in and dialed in on a day-to-day basis enough to see when a person is struggling and when that person's at the edge and might end up doing something stupid or doing something reckless to hurt this football team? When the arguments come in and, man, that was my play and that's my ball, or a guy is late to practice, how do you get after it? Do you discipline a guy being late, 30 seconds late to practice, whether it is the kicker, the backup long snapper, or Cam Ward? Are they disciplined the exact same? So I believe that that's the difference maker. That's what makes you win a national championship or win the ACC or be undefeated, those little things. So that's why I say it's on coaching.
Orlando, I'm sure you've talked to other former players, and maybe you're on text message threads where you guys all talk about the Canes and everything that's going on. Who have you heard from some of your old buddies, either came before you or teammates, just their thoughts and how excited they are about what's going on with the Canes? Everyone on the same page that they think the Canes are really they're a big time team this year?
Absolutely. We all think we're back, and that's how it feels when you watch it on TV, or you go back and you're watching film, you're watching the all 22. It looks like that. It looks like a deep. I'll tell you this, Zaz, when you have a guy like Xavier Restrepo, right? Mm-hmm. Don't even know how big Xavier is. Right. I'm going to say he's 5'11" on a good day, or we might be telling NFL scouts that, but they might have him at 5'9". But when you got a guy like that runs the way that he runs on every single route, whether he's getting the ball or he's not getting the ball, but also when you could throw a tight end bubble screen and Xavier Restrepo is the lead blocker and he's giving it everything he has and he's not decelerated at all, he's accelerating through contact, man, that's scary. You start watching that as a former Cane and you're saying, man, let's see, because that's the smallest guy on the football field. And if the smallest guy on the football field is doing that, what are the expectations for the other 10 guys on the football field? Yeah. And that's when it becomes a domino effect. And that's when we're all seeing it, right? And whoever hasn't seen it or whoever thinks, well, man, the Canes it's just going to be like last year. That's a hater and they're not being honest to themselves. Cut the film on. I think South Florida is a very talented team. Athletically, they are gifted. They couldn't even be out. They shouldn't have been on the same field with the Hurricanes last week. You could see the talent level it's so far in between. And those kids are talented. I've watched South Florida the last couple of years give Alabama a run for their money, right? So some games where you're looking at them like, man, that's a tough battle right there, right? Ultimately, Alabama's taking care of business, but that's what becomes so exciting about this program, where we don't need a Texan talk. The only time I see my fellow Canes talking, we're talking smack to other teams because they're coming for us. I couldn't tell you how many text messages I had on this phone leading up to the UF game, but my phone got really quiet, halfway through that game.
Right? Halfway through the first quarter, your phone got quiet.
I'm still waiting for some responses. It's been weeks. I gotta put out cartons of milk and with a missing sign for some people because I haven't heard from them.
You can catch Orlando, George Sedano, Orlando Franklin. They got the ACC Network every week this week. Orlando and George are at BC. Boston College is hosting Western Kentucky. And, of course, we can always hear you on Sunday primetime ESPN radio, right, where you're doing the red zone for the 4 p.m. game. So we can catch you there as well, right?
Yep. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Franklin74. Might as well throw that out there. And I do a bunch of stuff here in Denver. 9 News, Channel 7, all that stuff.
And I know
you're time of year.
And I know from shows we've done together, Orlando, you're a big hockey guy. You're a big supporter of the Avalanche. How about hockey starting back up again? How about giving me a congratulations for the Stanley Cup champion Panthers, Orlando?
Hey, listen. I am extremely happy for the state of Florida. The last decade has been sensational between the Tampa Bay Lightning and what the Panthers just did this past year. Unbelievable for the game of hockey. But my Avs are coming back. Big Gabe is coming back. My captain is coming back to town. It's going to be an interesting year for the Avs, I feel.
Great job, Orlando. Good catching up with you. I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Zaz, for having me. This was fun. Let's do it again soon.